I got hit in the first 20 seconds of the game. I'm gonna get burned, definitely. Hi, Uday Singh here of the Gun Tour, where we go places off the beaten path and do stuff not usually done. Let's talk about playing video games with tanks versus operating a real main battle tank, and that too one of the most advanced tanks in the world, the Russian T-90M. And my conclusion is that there is no real difference at all, except one, which I'm gonna come back to later. But the main question is, could a player actually become a real tankist? All of this you're gonna find out very soon. So guys, in this game, we've got the T-90A, but not the T-90M, unfortunately. You know, I loved playing World of Tanks, and now I moved to WarThunder. But it's one thing operating a T-90A in a video game and a completely different experience operating a real T-90M. How do I know that? Because I went to Nizhny Tagil, where they're made, so that I can ride it myself. Guys, I'm finally here in Nizhny Tagil, the home of the Ural Vagon Zavod, the largest factory in the world. The Ural Vagon Zavod not only produces the main battle tanks for Russia, but all the countries that have bought its tanks. And today I'm going to look at that beautiful machine, the T-90MS, which is the souped up, modernized version of the mighty T-90. And I'm gonna be the commander of that vehicle. It's based on the T-90 platform, which is a very tried and tested platform. It's a super light, super agile, and very, very efficient tank because it's very light. Because there's an auto-loading system which removes the need for a fourth crew member, the loader. And this allows the tank to be smaller, thus lighter than its Western counterparts like the Abrams or the Leopard, which are huge tanks. Now the problem with a big fat tank, a big fat heavy tank, is that if there is mud, if there is snow, if there is sand, it can get stuck in there, and then it's just a sitting duck for the enemy to come and destroy it. We saw that in Iraq, in Yemen, in northern Syria, how the Leopards and most Western tanks just couldn't survive the desert conditions. The Russians actually conducted tests and trials of the T-90 in the harsh Indian desert, where it really proved itself and operated without a glitch. It's powered by a tuned-up V12 diesel pumping out 1100 horsepower, propelling this 50-ton metal beauty to speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour and up to a range of 550 kilometers. It has a power-to-weight ratio of 22.5 horsepower per ton. It even has an auxiliary generator to power all the electronics and the fire system of the tank even when the main engine is switched off. The tank is equipped with modernized optical sights, a brand new Sosna gunner sight, video cameras are on every corner, providing a 360-degree view around the tank. The T-90M has integrated Russian GLONASS satellite navigation as well as inertial navigation systems. It has daytime and nighttime optical sights, a thermal imaging system that detects enemy targets at distances of up to 4 kilometers. The T-90M is protected by the Relic explosive reactive armor. It is effective against armor-piercing, fin-stabilizing, discarding sabots, and tandem high-explosive anti-tank munition. The lower part of the turret is protected by a metal net to counter the threat of shaped charges. The best part is that I even got to shoot from the T-90M. It's like being a drone pilot versus being an actual pilot in a fighter jet. I'm gonna get into the commander's seat and command this beautiful tank and fire at that target. Whoa, so I'm right now in the commander's seat, and I've got the thermal vision screen in front of me. This is the display. This is a touchscreen display where is the satellite navigation. This is a very, very dynamic satellite navigation system. It shows everything: the terrain, where you are located, the enemy, and your friendlies. The T-90M has a 125mm smoothbore gun. It can also fire guided missiles that can destroy enemy targets at a distance of up to 5 kilometers. The secondary weapon system consists of a 12.7mm cord heavy machine gun and a 7.62mm machine gun. Заряжаем. Now it's loaded, and now we're ready to fire. Огонь! Shooting the main gun of the T-90M was an unbelievable moment. I mean, check out the difference between shooting during gameplay and shooting in real life. The shockwaves and the smell of gunpowder was actually a bit scary, but you can really feel the power of the tank, the power of the gun in your hands. The firepower of the 125mm smoothbore cannon was really felt. They also let me operate the heavy 12.7mm machine gun that is mounted on top of the tank, and I could control it remotely from inside the tank, and that was very, very cool. The tank is actually very maneuverable and reliable, and believe me, that is the most important thing you want in a tank in the heat of battle. You don't want to be stuck somewhere because your tank is too heavy and too complicated to operate in difficult situations. In this regard, I really think the T-90M is the Kalashnikov of all tanks. It's not gonna fail you. Unfortunately, it's not shown in the game, but the thermal sights and night vision in the tank operate way differently. In real life, the tank crew can actually see their targets through the smoke screens, through the vegetation, practically anything, and that really increases the situational awareness of an actual T-90M crew. And there's no battle control system in the game as well. But in general, I want to give credits to the game. It's really precise in terms of its realism. They use accurate blueprints of all the military hardware presented. I mean, it's really interesting from time to time to just look at all the tanks in full detail in the game. Truly a masterpiece. But guys, could a player of the online video game actually become a real tankist? The answer is yes. He can become a good tankist because he already knows how most of the systems works, some tactics, etc. But there are a lot more factors to be considered here, and you have to be really, really brave, because you have to consider the fact that in a battle, if you get hit, you might be seriously injured or even killed. Check out the factory where they actually make this tank. I managed to get a sneak peek inside this facility, which was as big as a city, and it's the biggest factory in the world. What was really cool that I saw the foundry where they were melting the iron, which I knew was going to form the T-90M, one of the most advanced war machines in the world. The Uralvagon Zavod is not just the biggest factory in the world, it's also a pillar of Russian armor. Built back in 1936, it played a critical role in securing the victory of the Soviet Union over Nazi Germany. This is where the legendary T-34 was forged into existence, and it was essential to the victory in the Second World War. I'm gonna get burned definitely in this place. I'll be part of the T-14 or the T-90 if I jump in that, or just die from the heat. I've never seen something of this scale ever in my life. I mean, Kurganmash Zavod, I was very surprised at Kurganmash Zavod, the scale of things, but this is just a different level. The scale of production here is mind-boggling. More than 100,000 pieces of heavy military hardware like tanks and armored vehicles have already been produced here. The thing that really amazed me was the massive open hearth furnaces, or the Martin furnace as they call it here. These furnaces have been firing for decades and have not stopped since, because once they stop, they would essentially crumble. It reverbs with the Russian idea of the eternal flame, which was ignited after the Second World War in honor of the soldiers that laid down their lives to protect their country. In the 90s, during the hard times, it was an Indian defense contract for the purchase of the T-90 tank that actually saved the Uralvagon Zavod from bankruptcy and closure. When I was told this by the management, I felt so proud that my country played such an important role in the very survival of this legendary factory. Now we're in Nizhny Tagil, and these are the outskirts of the city. I mean, as you can see that this is not the center of the city. So every city in Russia there's a big difference between the center and between the outskirts. Now, I'm sure you've noticed that some of these houses have chimneys. This is for the fireplace, and this is quite uncommon for Russia because there's central heating. You don't actually need a fireplace, but this region has fireplaces. The difference between the outskirts of the cities and the centers of the cities is huge in Russia, and let's go and see it. You see, guys, this is what I was talking about. You feel it here. The buildings are more beautiful. This feels like a real city. And you know, it's not like Moscow. Moscow's a very fast city. Everybody's walking fast. They don't give a damn about other people, you know. But this is real Russia, where the common man lives. They don't have these complexes. They're not super consumeristic. They're down to earth, and that's what I love about these cities in the middle of nowhere in Russia. Now I'm gonna show you how cumulative charges work against a tank. Like this, you saw that? Fuck. This is how cumulative charges work.